Hi all, it's Karen and
Pluto!
here for Karen and Bluto's Not Another Review channel with another movie review for
Yeah, I
you
can't wait.
guys.
What are we doing now?
You were bored with this one.
Oh, we're doing a bad one.
We're doing The Possession of Hannah Grace.
Oh, Possession of Hannah Montana.
That's what you kept calling it last night.
I couldn't remember it.
This movie came out in 2018. I think it was out like last September or October or
Kind
something.
of on your own with this one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's an hour and 25 minutes, so it's kind of a shorter movie. Rated R.
At least those are.
Yeah, so basically we start out, the opening, there's an exorcism going on. There is this young girl tied to a bed. They're in the church.
What does that remind you of?
We're not going to go there. We're not doing 50 Shades of Grey.
What?
Never
I
mind.
never saw that.
So basically, like, there's these priests and this girl's father's there trying to perform the exorcism. The demon in her ends up killing one of the priests, tries to start killing the other priest. The father grabs a pillow and tries and basically suffocates her.
Yeah,
And
it didn't
she
take too long.
dies. Spoilers!
What, 2 minutes in?
Yeah, I
Spoilers.
remembered. No, I mean, but she basically dies.
Suffocated her in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was very short, but kind of whenever they were cutting, it was like she was still kind of moving a little bit. So
She had a fly on her.
when the movie comes back, it's like 3 months later, we meet this character named Megan, who was a cop. Apparently, as we go through, we find out she had a very traumatic experience where her partner, I believe, was killed in line of duty with her. I mean, I didn't quite follow that in the one flashback part.
Yeah, one day after retirement.
No, they didn't say that. We're not.
Well,
doing...
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, okay. That's what you were saying. So, basically, Megan gets a call from somebody about coming and meeting with a Dr. Lewis at Boston Metro Hospital. We find out this person, she gets a call from, her name is Lisa. She is actually Megan's AA sponsor. So we'll go into that a little bit further because Lisa's kind of talking to her before the interview and saying, well, it's the overnight shift, so we'll wrap up at 7 and we can go directly to a meeting go to a meeting. Where I work with some people in this situation. So not myself personally, but help getting them connected to meetings and all that like that. So anyways,
that's good.
She basically has a working interview is what it comes down to. And the other thing we noted 10 minutes in was when the credits started.
Yeah.
So it was I actually didn't even realize the credits hadn't gone until they got gone. I'm like, wait a minute, we're like, how far into this? And Bluto looks at the time and goes, oh yeah, we're 10 minutes in and they're doing the credits. So anyways, she kind of goes around. She's basically being hired, and I wrote down her technical title. She's an overnight intake assistant at the morgue.
Okay.
That was her official title. I just had to know. So the doctor is kind of going over all the duties, responsibilities, explaining it's a very solitary job. They had like 3 people leave over the past 6 months because they couldn't handle it or something. So she ends up, getting the job. Her first night on, she's doing some data entry, and the alarm, I don't know if it's alarm or the whatever goes off down at the intake bay. This is where the bodies are brought in. So she goes down, goes through the routine. There's an ambulance bringing the body in. They get the body out. One of the people, paramedics or whatever, accompany her up to log the body. And then this person's like making a comment about how she can't stand the living. So it was like a perfect job for her.
I like her.
Yeah. And then she leaves. So Megan goes through the routine of taking pictures, doing fingerprints, so on and so forth, and then logging, placing the body in the locker.
You can do that.
No, I couldn't picture myself doing this. So it kind of very quiet night. There's a security guard she met her first night, kind of a goofy looking guy. He has his like big blonde curly afro thing, and that's all I remember.
I thought it was red.
I don't know. It looked blonde, but in some pictures it looked red. So I don't know what color it was. It just looked very weird on this guy. And his name was Dave. Kind of has a thing, I think, for Megan.
Dave's not here, man.
Yeah, so so she eventually is like goes to the bathroom, then she starts having
You had to look at your notes because
yeah, no, I can't remember. I can't remember if she she was in the bathroom.
That's how boring it was.
She starts having a flashback to what happened with her partner.
Blah, blah, blah.
All that, and then it cuts to her at her AA meeting, because I actually put AANA because I wasn't sure which. I knew what it was a meeting, but I didn't know which type. And then she eventually says about her AA sponsor. She's basically still talking about the events, her partner being shot, discussing how, the
Wendy.
craving for like pills and alcohol is still there and fighting it every day. Which, if you're familiar with addiction, it is an ongoing
Does she
thing.
actually take the pills and drink? I don't remember.
No, she never. She almost does.
Okay.
It turns out, even though this comes up later in the movie, her significant other and her had split up. He had a bottle of Xanax that was missing that she kind of took. She shows it a couple times, but she's going to take it, but she fights against it and doesn't.
I didn't think she did anything like that.
No, she didn't. And
That's good.
anyways, and her significant other, as I was saying, Andrew, comes to get the rest of the stuff. He's kind of making small talk with her, and she says about what she's doing now, and he goes, "Should you be really doing that?" And she's like, basically like, "I need to work. I need to get out."
Shut up. Here's your stuff. Get out.
So should we go into her second night on the job? The intake bell rings, notifies her. She goes down. There's no ambulance there, though. All of a sudden, this random guy shows up and starts banging on the doors. He's saying, "Hey, I work here. I left my ID. Can you let me in?" And she's like, "No, who are you?" And he gets mad and starts banging on the door. Well, she's like, "I'm calling security." He takes off. So she does. And actually, I put a question here, but I'm going to hold off on it, a question mark, because it is answered later.
Lost your train of thought?
Yeah. So Megan goes and notifies security. She's like, "Hey, there's some homeless guy down in the Bay Area." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's common." I think they say they'll check it out. Don't worry about it or whatever.
Who cares?
So she's kind of just still like doing some random things. The intake bell rings again. She goes down. There is an ambulance there with a gentleman. We find out his name's Randy. I didn't find that out till later in the movie. And one of the big things, and it's going to come into this part, one of the big things Dr. Lewis told Megan is you don't leave the area. It's going to come into play here. So Randy's like, "Hey, I have one for you." And he basically says he needs help. His partner called off. And she's like, "Well, I'm not really supposed to leave the building." And he goes, "Well, let's put it this way. I can't get the body out myself. It's going to start rot, decaying, and smelling."
Who cares?
So he kind of like is like, So she's like, "Fine." She goes to help him. Meanwhile, you can see somebody sneak in while they're not looking.
Yeah, he was pretty quiet. Neither one of them heard him.
Yeah, you just see a shadow going.
It went, phew. Yeah, he kind of just slipped right by there real quick. Sorry.
So,
where we at?
That's what I'm trying to look.
So
they get the body up to the main morgue floor. Randy starts talking about it's the body of a murder victim. The man took off when they found him stabbing her, and he says the victim's name is Hannah Grace.
Yeah. How long in the movie is this when we finally hear the name?
Yeah, it's a good bit in, and this is that was the name of the girl at the beginning as well. I guess I should have mentioned that.
The movie finally start.
So, Randy leaves to go about his business, and Megan goes to go, take the images and do what she needs to do routine-wise. All the machines start breaking down. So she can't do what she wants to do. So eventually it just gets to the point that she gets the body put away in the locker. For some reason, and the door, okay, because I have issues with the images and unable, but the door to the locker in the morgue won't stay closed. So she keeps trying to close it. It opens a couple times. So there's something that's bothering her about this. I can't remember exactly what happened. So she kind of tries to log into the police station records. Well, she tries using her login, and obviously she doesn't work there anymore, so it's not valid.
Nope.
But she knows Andrew's login, so she uses his. She goes to research. this Hannah Grace pulls up an ID and takes the picture, goes and looks at the body. On the picture with Hannah's ID, her eyes are brown. The eye that's opened on the body that's supposed to be Hannah Grace is blue.
Like me.
So she begins to figure out, like, questioning, because she obviously has the police background, so she's questioning, why isn't this adding up, So all this weird stuff starts happening. I had the body miss. Oh,
what?
I put mess. I thought I wrote messing, and it's missing. So eventually, at one point, she goes, Hannah's body's missing from the locker. All of a sudden, she sees it being dragged down the hall, and I made a comment. I'm like, "Oh, are we doing a Nightmare on Elm Street scene?" I actually said Friday the 13th, even though
yes,
I meant
you did.
I said Friday the 13th, and I meant Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1. Because you looked at me, you're like, what? And I'm like, oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's what I meant.
And they ripped that off in the remake too.
Yeah, but anyways, Megan the guy attacks her. She attacks back. He's stating the body needs cremated. The body needs destroyed. And she's like, dude, what is wrong with you? She had called security again to say somebody was in there. So she's down in the incinerator area of the morgue. He's going to try to burn the body. She's trying to delay him. Security shows up, arrest him. He's taken out.
Yep. I think he went to the bathroom during that part.
He kept screaming to destroy the body because she's not dead. And they're like, dude, she's dead. She's not doing anything. So Megan gets the body back to the locker. Door opens again. So she closes the door. No, she doesn't quite close the door yet.
Sorry, I can't help you because
no. I'm trying to look at my notes. She doesn't quite close the door yet. She gets her phone rings because Megan's kind of looking at her because she has all these various injuries on her. Like she's cut in her neck, cut around her abdomen. She's a mess, burned in some parts. Her cell phone rings. So she turns around, and while she has her back turned, the body moves a little bit. But obviously she doesn't see it. Andrew called her on her phone just to see if she was okay.
She's fine.
Lisa eventually comes to check on her. I don't know if Lisa's a nurse or something, but she works overnight at the hospital as well. This is her sponsor. And Megan's like, yeah, I'm fine. Then a little bit later, Lisa and her like eating lunch, I guess, or whatever. They're eating on their break, sitting down there, kind of chatting. And David comes down and says, hey, there's a police officer upstairs that wants to talk to you. And Megan's like, I really can't leave. And David's like, oh, no, don't worry. I'll sit and cover. Just go ahead and go. So like right after, like the locker door opens again. So it's basically Andrew came. So we get a cutaway. Andrew came to check on Megan. And he kind of asked her about the Xanax bottle being missing out of his stuff. And she's like, I can't believe you would ask me if this. So it ends up in a big fight because she knows she has it, but she denies,
She's just throwing it away.
So that we kind of go back. She says, she does ask Andrew, she goes, could you do me a favor though? And he's like, what? He goes, hold on a second. She goes back downstairs. David's still kind of hanging out. She grabs the fingerprints she took from the body of Hannah that wouldn't go through the machine. And she tells David, I'll be back in a couple minutes. Can you hang loose a little bit longer? He's like, yeah, sure. So she takes the fingerprints upstairs, which is a big HIPAA violation. Probably this is because I'm like picking out violations, but we're not going to go there. It's supposed to be for enjoyment.
Everybody doesn't need to know what you do.
I work in a health clinic. Can't help it. So, Megan takes the fingerprints to Andrew and says, can you run these for me? The machine was breaking down. I need to know if I have the correct, because I think he said something about the body and the picture not matching. We have a stinky.
Yep. It's not me. It's not you. I think it's Chloe.
So David's kind of hanging out. I keep saying David, whatever you want to call him.
Davey.
Kind of hanging out downstairs. Megan had made this rubber ball out of all these rubber bands. So he's playing with it, acting like he's a baseball player, just being
totally professional.
Yeah. So he hears noises, kind of starts looking around. As I flip my page, So he goes into the morgue where all the lockers are at.
He went to Davy Jones's locker.
And for some reason, he opened the locker that Hannah's in. He starts getting pulled in, pushed out, flies to the ceiling, gets sucked into the locker, and that's
bad CGI.
Yeah, that's that pretty much. Megan comes back down to a total mess in that area because Dave was trying to fight to get out of the grip of Hannah or whatever, but she can't find Dave. So she's like, oh, okay, maybe he got
Dave's
something.
Not here, man.
Yeah, she's like, okay, whatever. So we get to the next scene where she's kind of in the bathroom and she's texting. She's sitting on the toilet.
Like you do.
All of a sudden, her gum band ball rolls under the bathroom door. Before this, the automatic air hand dryer kicked on as well. So she's kind of like, okay, who the hell is down here? So she starts to get down on the floor and tries to look under the door to see who threw the ball. And all of a sudden, her arm comes and grabs the ball. And of course, she freaks out. Well, she opens the door. Nobody's there.
Of course.
So Andrew calls her and says he scanned the prints. And he goes, therefore, a Hannah Grace. And she's been dead for 3 months. So Megan, in her curiosity, starts researching more, finds an article regarding the exorcism and that she apparently died.
I found it on Zoogle or something.
Something goofy. It was like Zing or.
I give this movie credit. There was no product placement.
Right.
It was all ripoffs. Spoofs.
So she's kind of like really confused because it's the article saying, one of the priests died. The father said about them doing the exorcism. So she goes for some reason and starts looking at the body and realizes the wound around her stomach is gone. So she's kind of like, wait a minute. But unfortunately, because she was unable to take the images prior, she can't confirm it. So she goes up to security and asks if there's any way to access the security cameras for the morgue. And the other security guard, which I never caught his name, is like, I would come down and help you, but I don't know where Dave is. I can't leave the desk unattended. So he gives her some 3-ring binder that says, go to town. So she starts looking at the footage. And in the one scene, when she's in the bathroom, there's like this body image on the floor. So naturally she freaks out.
Oh, that shadow.
Yeah. So she reaches out to Lisa, kind of showing Lisa's. Lisa's like, I don't see it. Well, prior to all this, Megan took the Xanax bottle back out of her purse, kind of left it on the counter. Lisa spots the pills and starts questioning Megan, like, are you taking this? Because she's thinking she's taking the Xanax and she's
questioning me,
hallucinating. So they kind of have a little bit of a blow up. And Megan's like, if you want to that bad, just take them away from me. And Lisa's like, no, I'm going to trust you. Gives them back the pills. So she leaves. Lisa leaves, goes to the stairwell to have a smoke. So she's standing in the stairwell in the hospital. Yeah. All of a sudden, this blood starts dripping on her, and she looks up and she sees Dave a few floors up because it's one of those spiral stairwells where you can kind of look over and see down or up. So she starts running upstairs like, Dave, are you hurt? Do you need help? Like trying to find him. Well, eventually she finds him, but it's kind of his body sitting in a corner. Well, then Hannah shows up and starts chasing her. They go out onto the roof. Hannah kind of raises her like in the sign of the cross and kills her. So we cut away again, and our ambulance driver friend Randy happens to show up again with another body. He kind of comes in and she was saying like he needs help, and she's like, I can't, and he's like, do you need to talk or something? So they end up going upstairs. She kind of starts talking to him. She pulls out Hannah's body and says about some of the wound about her stomach. And he goes, yeah, there was a wound there. So he kind of talks, basically discusses how he was an alcoholic and what caused him to get straightened up. And he's basically saying, hey, if you need someone to talk to, come to me. I don't mind it. I don't think you're a whack job or anything like that. So, but I know I put a note on here, and it does come out later that the body is healing as it kills. I kind of
like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, a little bit like that. I didn't even think about that last time when we were watching it.
I thought I said that.
I don't remember.
Who knows?
Anyways, after this part, Megan kind of calls Andrew and confesses to taking the pills and apologizes. Hannah sneaks out.
Can't read, huh?
The elevator. Yeah, I was trying. My handwriting is so sloppy when I write.
I know.
Here, while Megan's on the phone, Hannah sneaks into the elevator, goes down to the intake bay. Basically, she ends up killing Randy, and the long and short of it in this scene. She kind of sets him up, corners him. I actually thought she was gonna, because it looked like the one ambulance was like leaking, and I thought it was gas or something. So I thought it was going to explode or something. But
maybe they didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah. So basically, Megan eventually comes downstairs into the intake bay. Once she reviews more of the security footage, sees that Hannah went down to the intake bay. So she does find Randy dead. At this point, her cell phone rings. He was a nice guy. I felt really bad about it too, even though he's kind of a putz. But anyways, her phone rings at this point. It's Andrew calling her again, saying, "Are you safe?" The guy that they arrested at the hospital trying to cremate the body had escaped. He might be returning to the hospital. All of a sudden, he shows up behind Hannah with a gun this time instead of a knife. He got there really quick. Yeah, he got there very quick. So Megan drops her phone. He's like, "We have to get back in and destroy the body." And he's kind of explaining, why. And Megan's like, "I believe you." And she's basically going to help him at this point. She questions about the eye color, because the one eye being blue and her ID, they're brown. And he said, "Well, that's the sign of the demon's mark." Even the demon remains after the killing and is killing others.
I didn't know that.
And the only way to, you didn't catch that part.
No, I didn't know that about demons. Yeah, I heard it.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just something they do with the demon theory in this movie. But anyways,
okay.
He keeps saying, the only way to fully stop the demon is to incinerate the body. So they get Hannah's body, and we find out Hannah's dad. They go back to the incineration room. They're trying to get the body in. Hannah comes back to life, basically, or however the demon takes over. Ends up throwing Dad into the incinerator, and no more Dad. He kind of starts going after Megan. We are almost done, believe it or not. Andrew shows up looking for Megan. She's kind of dragging Megan all over the place. She throws Megan in the locker. Megan kind of sees Dave's body, I think, and Lisa's body at this point, so she knows they're dead.
I remember that. Okay.
Andrew's looking for her down the morgue, can't find her. The other security guard comes down, and basically she's kicking on the door, making all this ruckus, but they don't hear anything until she actually kicks the door open. It's like, really, at that point, how much of a help are you guys?
No help at all.
So they find her. She's like, "We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here." So they're trying to get away. Hannah shows up, kills the other security guard. Andrew is like trying to put Megan behind him. He starts aiming his gun at Hannah. She puts him up in like the Jesus on the cross position again, trying to choke him. And Andrew's like, "Megan, you have to do something. You have to help me," or whatever. And so, like, initially when her partner got killed, she hesitated. Well, this time she goes, grabs the gun from Andrew, shoots Hannah, and stops her.
I remember that.
So this causes Andrew to be, dropped. Okay. So Megan gets Andrew in the elevator, tells him to go get help. She grabs Hannah's body, takes it back to the incinerator. As she's trying to put Hannah's body in the incinerator, Hannah's grabbing her, trying to get her in. Well, eventually Megan gets her in, incinerated. That's it.
Johnny montage, the end.
So basically it goes to the end, like Andrew shows up with the police, so like, I don't know if there was an investigation or how long after this is going on or anything.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to Megan, she's living her life. She's still doing the work. She's still going to meetings.
Guess she's cool with everything.
She's remaining sober.
She's A-okay.
And a fly flies on her mirror at the end. There's something with the flies earlier in the movie I forgot to mention. I'm like, oh God, something's going to happen. And she squishes the fly, and that's it. So unlike in Psycho, she kills the fly.
Maybe that's what they're going for.
I'm not going to say this was the greatest movie.
What would you give it a rating? A, B, C, D,
probably
E, F,
C minus. It was an interesting take on the possession, exorcism movies, whatever it was
called.
Those
are just getting
yeah, possession. I kept calling it the exorcism. It's the possession
of
Hannah.
It's the possession of Hannah Montana.
So, like I liked it. I thought the story was a little bit different with the fact that if the demon was killing, it healed the body. Like I said, I didn't think about Jeepers Creepers. Is it something I would watch again? Probably not. To see it once, yeah, it's fine. But I don't think it's something I would watch again. I know this one was bored with it, so
it was kind of boring.
Yeah,
not bad,
but I mean, it was kind of good. Short and sweet though. Like it held my attention. I will say that.
R.
It was actually rated R,
not PG-13.
I mean, there's some minor nudity, but because you see her butt. But
wow, you see that on TV?
Yeah,
if I see that, I'll watch NYPD Blue.
I mean, actually, I don't feel it should have had an R rating, but. I mean, I guess it is kind of gory.
Ratings are stupid anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, though.
Stupid.
But, yeah, so, I mean, if you can check it out once, maybe check it out once. But,
leave comments.
Yeah. So that'll be it. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Bell icon so you know when we post new content.
Yep.
Share the page. Help us out. If there's something you want us, a movie you want us to review, let us know in the comments.
Yep.
That's
always
it.
Comment.
We'll see you in the next one.
Hasta la vista.
Bye.
Bye.